YouTube was the reason why I developed an unimaginable distrust when I was a kid. Such a beautiful platform that filled me with so much content of such incredible quality was the same one from which came these horrible videos that would traumatize me for life. But because of these awful videos was that I started to go down the rabbit hole of mysterious video games. How does it relate? I don't know, blame the platform, not me, but thanks to this, I met a title that unknowingly would become one of the games that would develop me as a person in the long run, and that game was Club Penguin. Forget it, you just wouldn't understand. And not only did it develop me as a person, but it also helped me expand my taste in video games. Because of Yume Nikki, I got to know great titles like Aoni, Mad Father, or Eve, which I always called Eevee instead of Eve, and I don't know why. For a younger part of the 3 people who will watch this video, most likely these games will be unknown to them, which first gives me an existential crisis because at what point I went from being a 12-year-old to be 20 and have a great depression for not being able to get a miserable job that paid me $2 an hour, 3 if we get picky in my country. And second, it is something sad because I won't deny it. These are games that did not exactly age well. Still, these games show you the power of a person with tons of creativity and a desire to do an excellent job, and just forgetting them would be a shame. But hey, enough talking, let's talk about the developers. Who are they? Well, I actually also want to know that. Yume Nikki was created by someone under the nickname of Kikiyama. Who is this human being? How old is them? The last question that has to do with the genre that gringos get so angry about. We didn't know it back in the day, and it's been almost 20 years since its release, and we still have the same dots we had back then. This human being has created one of the most important pieces of video game culture, and he has disappeared from the map to keep his privacy. The only thing that we know recently from them was that they helped with the development of Yume Nikki Dream Diary, also known as Dream Diary to close friends. A reimagination of the original game that a ton of people don't really like that much. I don't know, I haven't played it yet. It's $20 but that is some good money here that I need for some other stuff like eating. Enough talking about how this game is amazing, a gift from the Lord himself, and that if you don't like it, you're possibly worthless as a human being. What is this game about? What is it that makes it so unique and so popular at the time? Walking. Walking through open and empty worlds. When you open the game, you will be given some instructions and spawn in an empty room. You can be a gamer and realize that our protagonist Marotsuki has a terrible taste in video games, unlike us true gamers. You can try to get out of the room, but guess what? You can't. Like a true gamer, there's a desk where you can save the game, and a balcony with view to nowhere. That's a little bit scary. In these types of cases where I don't have anything to do, I like to go to Mimir. So here we go. You soon realize that going to Mimir is actually a terrible idea, but an amazing idea at the same time. When we're Mimidos, we can go out and explore a world worthy of a horror movie. And I love it. Let's not lie to ourselves. For its time, every level in Yume Nikki was blooming with content. Back in the day, we were constantly saying that we could never watch the full game. That wasn't true at all. By today's standards, the worlds in Yume Nikki are pretty empty. But every world in this game has this weird feeling. Some of them are nostalgic, some of them are scary, but every world is interesting and has its own story. Kikiyama themselves have said that the game doesn't have a purpose. Apart from collecting the effects in the worlds that change Marotsuki into multiple things, most of them being completely useless, there's nothing more to it, just exploration. But here's where the game gets interesting. Dreams are a compilation of things we've experienced in our lives, vague memories of events, of traumas, of horrors, beautiful experiences and sad experiences all come together in the same realm of dreams. Yume Nikki doesn't have a clear story, but we know that this girl has suffered some stuff in her life by just taking a look at her dreams. And not only you can find Marotsuki's story here, you can also start to know yourself a little bit more from your interpretations. Look, this game made me realize that I love horror games. And I was that kid that was scared of everything. My guy, I was scared of Minecraft. And I thought redstone was blood. No es broma. Blood. The first time I found redstone in my creative world, which contained my humble 4-story castle made of diamond and gold, with a courtyard and a living room for my 15 kittens, I almost started to cry. I had to close the game because I was so scared I couldn't even look at it. Yume Nikki made me realize that even though I was afraid of my own shadow, I actually loved that feeling. And with Yume Nikki, I found that everything from the environments to the events to the characters were a little bit unsettling for me. But at the same time, I was just fascinated with it. I was crafting a lore of this girl, while also finding how much I really loved these bizarre, uncanny, and surrealist experiences, and how I wanted more of them. And now let's get personal. One of the essential things it made me discover about myself was that I needed to have order in my life. I had to be the person I always dreamed of being, instead of constantly fighting with myself and my depression for not doing anything. Spoilers, if you haven't played the game that's almost 20 years old and runs on a freaking potato, skip here to avoid knowing the ending. I could have easily ended up like Marotsuki. I also had my internal fights due to multiple conflicts and shortcomings I had growing up, which developed an intense depression, making me constantly think about suicide and how pointless my existence was in general. I mean, when I finished high school, I was going to have to work in a job I would possibly hate to make little more than minimum wage for a lot of years. All of it just for my body to end up failing me one day and suddenly disappear from this world. What was the point of it? If I was going to end up dying in the end, why not just get it over with if it's been a terrible suffering for me and the ugly part hasn't even started yet? I started using video games as an escape from this terrible reality that was waiting for me. I was trying my best not to get out of high school because I knew that what was coming next would be worse. And I was never going to be ready for that. I was just a kid who wanted to keep enjoying his life and I couldn't do that. With all the theories around the game, I saw Marotsuki as someone similar to me, with those same problems, who got to a point where she felt so much pain that she excluded herself from the world. And seeing a character that I felt I had a connection with take her life in that horrible way, it actually hurt me. It was like actually losing a real friend. It made me start thinking about if I was really going to do the same thing, if it was worth it, if maybe in the future it could actually get better and I could leave behind all of these struggles. And after years and years of basically fighting against depression, I got to a simple conclusion. Despite all these shortcomings I had as a kid, despite actually not having anyone to rely on, I needed to make a change in my life. Because in the end, I am actually the only person who should be most concerned about my well-being, not someone else. I am the one responsible for my life, and I'll choose whether I live a pathetic life like the one I said we were all going to live, or live the life that I wanted to live. Because it's not really about getting a terrible job, or a great job, or a job in a great company. It's more about how you deal with these things in your life and what's your perspective on things. Yume Nikki, an RPG Maker game from 2004, helped me to get the resolution of such a severe conflict for me. Isn't that amazing? Maybe Kikiyama doesn't know about it, but its game helped a ton of people around the world, maybe in my situation or in a worse one. And not only did it help people with their mental health, it helped millions of new indie developers realize that they don't need a big studio to publish their game or help them do it. All they needed was a will to learn, some passion, and tons of creativity, and they could make a fascinating game. And guess what? The people that made these games are no big deal. There's someone like you and me who just wanted to do a great project, and they actually did it, which is just fascinating. Nowadays, Yume Nikki is somewhat of a dual experience. I mean, the worlds are pretty empty, the movement speed is pretty slow, and there isn't a ton of levels to get yourself lost in exploration like one would think at first. But still, it is a great experience that I actually recommend for everyone to try out just for once. It is a cult classic at the end of the day, and yeah, normally in video games the word cult classic comes hand in hand with the word horrible game, but this game is a great exception of that rule. The legacy of Yume Nikki is fascinating, and it's a game that I think many of us will remember very fondly. I'm Ale, and hey, if you like this video, please suscríbete, dale like, considera compartirlo, porque me esforcé muchísimo en este video. Yeah, this became anime, so please read the subtitles. Los amo a todos, bye.